This is Lee, and I'm with Atlanta Veg Fest, and we're excited to bring another digital interview for 2020. Right now, I have Wes Allen with me. He's with Tommy's Holiday Fund. Hi, Wes.
Hi.
You guys, if you have been to Atlanta Veg Fest before, you've probably seen Wes in a few different places. He has been volunteering with us for a few years as our technical director, and he's super helpful at that. He helps us get all of our stuff together for the speakers so that people can hear them talk, and amongst a million other things. He has like 12 hands. So that's always really nice. And you'll also see him behind the table at Tommy's Holiday Fund booth, the vendor booth in the exhibit hall. We love to support Tommy's when we can. And so I just wanted to bring Wes on so he can tell you a little bit more about THF and what they do for the families with companion animals in Metro Atlanta. Or is it all of Georgia, Wes? Or?
Yeah, we say Metro Atlanta, and we pretty much will go anywhere, but we try to stay in Georgia, but we try to relegate ourselves to anything that's Metro Atlanta. But yeah, we'll go anywhere as long as we've got the funding and we can help out. We'll go anywhere in Georgia.
So you're the co-founder with your wife Julie of THF since 2015, right?
Yep, that's correct. We started in 2015, March 2015. It was a quick process. Of course, it's named Tommy's Holiday Fund after our dog Tommy that passed away in March of 2015. And we went through when Tommy was a puppy, we had an experience where Julie and I just started out, and Tommy had kidney stones and got really ill. And basically we were told if we couldn't afford the surgery, our option was to euthanize. And we had just started out, like I said, and we didn't have any money. And because of Julie's parents, they stepped up, they paid for the surgery, and we were able to have another 12 years with Tommy. And it stuck in the back of our heads that, what about people that don't have that family connection and have that ability to come up with something like that? And there's so many people that don't have, that were way worse off than we were even at that time. So it was always there. And then when Tommy passed, we were just originally going to donate, some money to his vet and say, here, help the next family out. But it popped into my head, we can take that money and start a nonprofit and do it over and over and over again. So here we are.
People have companion animals in their lives, and they're basically members of their family.
Yeah.
I know that the people who turn in applications for THF, for help from THF, for people who are just in a dire situation where they've been given that option where we can euthanize your animal, or they can have this surgery,
right,
or whatever the treatment is. And so what parameters, when someone applies at THF, what needs to qualify as something potentially life-saving versus if you'd help with something that maybe isn't as essential?
Yeah, so the first criteria that we set is, assuming we don't have an abundance of money, which is never, is we say that it needs to be an emergency scenario, which is basically anything that is, if it's already a life-threatening situation, or it's something that's potentially going to lead, they've already been told that it'll be a euthanasia scenario, or it is a condition that would be life-threatening if it was left untreated. Because our primary focus is to prevent euthanasia and sheltering. We want to be a front line to preventing animals ending up in shelters too. I think it's 19% of all animals that are in shelters now are there because the families couldn't afford the care that they needed. Emergency and specialty veterinary care, not just feeding them. So we wanted to be a front line there. So one of our criteria is basically any type of condition that would be that would lead to a life-threatening condition. So I always, if there's someone that applies, I've gotten pretty good now just through experience and knowing what those conditions are and what that means and what those terms mean from what they may have already been told at the clinics, and can read into that and say, okay, no, we need to get involved in this now. A lot of people come to us before they go to the vet in the first place, which I tend to like, because then I can say, okay, don't go to this clinic, go to this clinic, or because I know now pricing and things like that. But a lot of times too, they end up coming to us after they've already been. So now I don't want to say stuck, but I guess we're tied to that clinic. So I don't like to pull them from a clinic if they're already there. But in an effort to provide the best financial services that we can, we will do that too.
Yeah, and saying that just leads me to the other question I was going to mention, is that it's not just a matter of someone applying and saying, my vet said it's X amount of money, and you saying, okay, here's X amount of money is your solution. You actually jump into action, right? And you call vets that you have on your list that you know are that you've worked with before, right?
Yes.
And you negotiate prices down, and you say, what can we do? You've worked out payment plans, is that right?
Yeah. I mean, even if we had zero money in the bank, anyone that calls, emails, texts, whatever it may be, I will never turn anyone away without some type of assistance, whether that means I call their clinic on their behalf, I call one of our partner clinics on their behalf, and try to get something set up for them, whether that be a discount for them or get it so that they'll accept the payment plan, even if that means we put our name on the line and say, take a payment plan for them, because no matter what, you're saving an animal, you're preventing euthanasia, you're preventing this animal from going to a shelter, which if, they provided services without payment, they're gonna, they treat them like property when that happens, and they take them as seized property basically. And then now the clinics now have the animals, and they basically repo them. This is gross, but they repo them, and then they end up putting them in a shelter anyway, and so they can't get their money. So basically for me, it's to say, save the animal, help this family, and let the animals go home to a family that already loves them and wants to save them, and take the payment from them. Because even if you got 2 payments out of them, that's more than you were going to get to begin with. You don't have to go through the hassle of paperwork and seizing property and all of this, and everybody benefits in some way, especially the animals and the families, because that's another big thing that we do. And it's a category thing for me, because we're classified as animal nonprofit, but we also provide a human social service in a financial way. So it's this dual-fold thing, and it's hard for us to get grants because of it. But yeah, we always provide something for people and the families and the animals, because I try to do anything I can to help.
And that, yeah, the wording you use, the seizing of property, it's so gross, but it's a reality, in the state, and in a lot of states, but that animals are considered property. They're not considered sentient beings, So I feel like in the work you're in with THF, you have to, and also because I know you personally, I know you're a very empathetic vegan individual who cares greatly about animals. I feel like you have to kind of ride that line, like, the legal aspects of what you're working in, and you have to harden yourself and work through that with veterinarians and shelters and people, and even the clients that come through that don't look at their companion animals in the same way you may be looking at it. And so I appreciate your dual role in that you have to kind of work both sides of that, instead of just leaning towards the emotional, oh my gosh, the animal though, because your end game, ultimately you're saving that animal from the shelter or death.
Yeah. No, we have that in our terms too. I mean, it's in the application process. I mean, we do have the process of, pardon the pun, but the vetting process for applicants too, where it's, it has to meet, low income, Social Security benefits, disability, whatever it may be. And then they have to apply for care credit, which I still don't like it when we have people that are families that are low income and we're still asking them to apply for credit. I don't like that. I don't want people to have to take on more debt. But at the same time, you're asking me and us as a nonprofit to provide financial assistance. So we need something from your side too. So even if all you've got is $5, put $5 towards this, and we're going to get the rest as much as we can. Even if we've got $200 and it's going to cost $500, we'll figure out a way to get the other $3, but put $5 toward it. That's all we can. But I don't like asking people to apply for credit and go into further debt. But there still has to be some type of process there. And so we have all these requirements. We ask the question: Is your animal spayed and neutered? Have you ever put them into shows? Is this your only animal? All these different questions to find out and try to see where they land. Not because I'm saying if you're not vegan, if you're not a good caretaker for your animals, that we're not going to help you, because still our focus is still on the animal, and again on the family too, but on the animal. And at the same time, when we go to the clinics, we have an agreement with them, and the clinics do this too, and they do usually do a good job, I will say that. They look for signs of abuse and neglect. But when we go to the clinics, we also have an agreement with our partner clinics, at least, that if they see signs of abuse and neglect, they have to let us know, and then they have to go, we're still going to pay and help, but they cannot let that animal go home, because that just can't happen, and we'll figure out something else. We've had a couple where there were broken bones, and they called us back and they said, we're not sure that what they said is correct. We were told, it was an accident, the kids were playing and somebody stepped on them. And then they called and they said, this doesn't happen from someone stepping on accident. Something happened here. And then, when we called and we talked to them, and there were other things involved, but the issue that happened was removed. Mm-hmm. So, again, the focus is on the animal, helping the animal, preventing more harm, and doing what's best for the animal's quality of life. So, and then that's what you were saying, this hard line of empathy, and it gets tough sometimes because I take on the emotion of the family and the animal, everything else. And so there have been a couple of times where, again, the whole point is to prevent euthanasia and suffering and everything else. So we've had a couple of times where, I still have to go with what the doctors are saying.
Right.
And if the doctors say euthanasia is the best we can do right now, okay, let's go get a second opinion. We go get a second opinion, and then that doctor says, no, euthanasia is where you need to go. Okay, but why? And then we go through it all. And we've had 2, I think, since we've been doing this, in the 5 years we've been doing it, where the doctors have said that exact scenario has come up. And in both cases, it was, severe cancer. And operating would have been far worse than, it would not have provided any quality of life. It could have made their lives worse. And really the families were doing it for themselves.
Right.
And then that gets really hard, because that's going against everything we stand for. Now I'm having to go back to these families and say, look, we can pay for the surgery, but I now have to tell you that the best and most compassionate thing you can do is to let go. And that sucks so bad, because that is the truth. And it is what you can do. I mean, it's a conflict for me as, you know, a vegan and an animal rights person and someone that's just said, you know, this is our whole mission. And they came to us because that's our mission. And then here I am coming back to you and saying, well, you know, really this is the best thing you can do, but here's why.
Yeah.
And for the most part, most of them have understood. I mean, a couple of them have gotten really upset, and I've talked them through it and can get them to see why, but it's hard.
That being said, and I know that you take on a lot of the families, what do you call it? Their vibes, their emotions. You're taking that on because you're essentially, especially in cases like that, you're the middleman between a vet who says that to people all day long, and I'm sure it's difficult for a veterinarian to tell that to their clients all day long as well. But then there's you having to step in and do this in your volunteer, no paid THF position that you and Julie do in addition to your regular job that's also very demanding. And so I know that you're up at midnight talking to your clients through Messenger and on the phone, and you're telling them things like this. So my question to you is, how are you taking care of yourself while you're taking care of others? Are you, do you have a specific plan laid out for that, or are they just sucking you dry? And you're taking care of yourself.
Yeah, I rely on Julie a lot for that. We have music as our love. Before when we could actually go places, concerts and things like that were our go-to. Now we do virtual concerts and things like that. So, but yeah, I mean, I still go to school too. So, I mean, I have work and school and THF and, so yeah, I scream into a pillow.
That works. That's good. It's good to have an outlet. Music is a great outlet, and you know, you guys have a lot of friends in your music community, I know, so that's really cool. So you had mentioned, like, you were talking money a little bit, and I want people to know that, you know, in addition to Tommy's being a volunteer job for you and Julie, you don't take a salary on. Not only that, it's basically a case-by-case basis, right? Like, you have to raise funds for every single case you take on. You don't have just like a cushion in the Tommy's bank.
No.
You're pretty base level as far as that goes right now, right?
Yeah, we have several regular monthly donors. A lot of them are made up of family. And so we do have, I guess, let's say a standard level of what we know we have every month. And, of course, Julie and I put in every month because we set a limit for ourselves every year. And so we have we know where we're going to have every month. And a lot of that, you know, there's a certain amount covers things that, you know, when we pay outside of that for the, you know, just outside of the donation, we'll pay for the website fees and stuff like that. But I mean, that's still a donation, but it's still, we cover all that. And, but yeah, I mean, you know, the reason we started this was because veterinary costs are so expensive. So, you know, if we run, I think on average between 200 to 300 that we know we'll have. If we didn't have any cost in a month, we would get between 200 and 300 in a month. And for some small things, that covers it. But when you run into what we did with Nala, with the endoscopy to remove a knitting needle, I mean, that's $1,800 to do that. And then you've got exams and stuff like that can push that cost up. And if there's any overnight fees, And I mean, that's with our discounts that we get at certain places. And then right now with Duke, it's another $1,800 to $2,000 to get the MRI done. And that, you know, the MRI is to know whether or not we can do anything further.
Right.
That's what that's for. I mean, and I think that, you know, because I will do anything, and we will do anything to know for certain, is it treatable? Can we go any further in saving Duke's life? Because right now what they're saying is well, without the MRI, we don't know. So your best option.
Explain to everybody who Duke is.
Oh, Duke is a current dog that we're trying to help, and he is an 8-year-old pit bull who started having seizures out of the blue. It was 1 or 2 at first, and now it's like 5 in an 8-hour period, and that's still continuing now. And his family was able, his mom was able to get him to the UGA clinic and paid, and she's not working right now, and paid the last little bit of money she had to get him there and get him blood work and get him treatment to try to stop the seizures. And basically they told her, you know, the medicine we're giving him is not stopping the seizures, and they're giving him phenobarbital, which, you know, should knock a horse out. And it's not stopping them, and they're basically telling her without an MRI to know whether it's swelling in the brain or a tumor, cancer. We don't know what we need to do to try to save him. And if it's cancer in his brain, they're still going to say, don't try to do the surgery. But if it's the swelling, then there are treatment programs they can do. But because she couldn't afford the MRI, they just said, well, if you can't do the MRI, then that's it. You're done. And it's like, okay, but let's do an MRI. Because if it's one or the other, then let's move forward. Now, the thing is that potentially the treatment, you know, at first, my thought was, well, why don't we just treat him for the swelling and see if that helps? Well, they didn't want to do that because it could potentially make it worse, depending on what the conditions were. It could actually make it worse. So they said, no, we can't just do that. And I was like, okay, well, we need to do the MRI. So right now he's at home and on steroids and the phenobarbital and some other stuff, and it's managing it, but not preventing them completely. So until we can raise the funds, but we're almost there. I mean, as of today, we're at 1,570 in less than a week, which is amazing, because when we post and we say, you know, we've got this scenario, this is who we're trying to help, here's what's going on, here's some information about the family. We never post, you know, personal information about the family, just the story of what's going on, and here's what's going on with the animals. In a matter of a week, we can raise that much money, and it really just blows me away that's how it's happened. I mean, we did that with Nala, the cat with the knitting needle. I mean, that happened in 2 days, 3 days.
That was people who might be in Metro Atlanta who follow the Vegan Atlanta board on Facebook.
Yeah,
that was a popular one because she, the mother of Nala the cat, came into the Vegan Atlanta group.
Yeah.
Mentioning that her cat may have swallowed a knitting needle, and then some people tagged us.
Yeah.
And that was a pretty amazing that just being in that group alone helped raise money for Nala and get it into action. So
yeah. And that it almost, you know, as fast as that was raised to help Nala, I mean, it makes me want to keep posting in the Vegan Atlanta, but that's not what Vegan Atlanta is for. It's a completely different thing. I don't want to spam it. And that's a separate thing, and it deserves its own separate space. So, you know, I don't want to do that, but I can't thank that community enough for what they did, because, I mean, that happened so fast, and it had to be done that fast, because what was happening with Nala, it had to happen quickly, because if that moved, that was it. We couldn't do anything. It had to happen in that small of a window in order to get that done. They told us, if it moves any further than where it is, we can't do this. The endoscopy, it has to be done with physical surgery, and then that's going to double the price. Mm-hmm. I mean, it had to be done quick. So Duke, you know, we had a little bit more time because the MRI can be done whenever, but he's suffering while we're waiting.
Right.
So that's, it's still time sensitive for me, but I mean, we do what we need to do.
So the primary funding for Tommy's comes from social media posts, right? Is that where you primarily post? Facebook and Instagram? Are there any other platforms you use?
No, I mean, it pretty much comes from there. I mean, of course, we're registered with Amazon and we get funding through Amazon and with Kroger, like most other places.
But that's like drips, tiny.
Yeah, it's it's $5 here, $20. I think Kroger makes you wait until you got a minimum of $25, which can take 6 months. Yeah. And Amazon, I mean, it happens over time if you get enough people paying into it. So it happens, quarterly we might get $25, $30. But I mean, we do everything through social media. So basically it's Instagram and Facebook, but and our monthly donors, which helps tremendously, and I can't thank them enough either. And we try to get grants as much as we can. I have to say, Doggies on the Catwalk was our first grant we ever got, and that was $1,000, and that was amazing to meet them and Vincent and Alex that run Doggies on the Catwalk, and then they fell in love with what we do, and they made us one of their first grant recipients for 2020. That helped us tremendously, but we don't qualify for most grants. When we try to apply for grants, a lot of them are focused on shelters and rescues. Well, we're neither of those, but we're a front line for both of those. We prevent animals from ending up in shelters and needing rescues. And again, like I said, to reiterate that other point, 19% of all animals that are in shelters are there because their families couldn't afford veterinary care. So what we're trying to do is prevent these families from going to the veterinary clinics and being told, this is how much it's going to cost, and then we're immediately leaving and going, well, I can't help I can't help, not that Duke's mom would ever do this, but I can't help Duke. And then immediately leaving and going, well, I can't do this, and I don't want anything to happen to Duke. So, and this is what happens in people's minds is, I can't help Duke, so I'm going to take them over to the shelter and drop him off because I can't care for him. They will. That's not how it works. Mm-hmm. And I mean, some of them will. If it's a Lifeline shelter, they're going to take care of them. Depending on what it is, they're going to take care of them. But if it's not, that's not how it works. And that's the end of the line. And so, we're trying to be a front line to keep them away from that. So it's very frustrating that we don't qualify for more of these grants. And to be fair, I don't apply for most of them because I feel so defeated about it that we don't qualify for most of them. So as soon as you read them, that immediately says, are you a rescue or are you a shelter? Because these are who we work with. You just, okay, well, close that window and go on. And then some of them, it'll say, well, we only work with nonprofits that are, over 15 to 20,000 a year or more. And they don't need your help as much as we would.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I can appreciate how just absolutely grassroots this is, just as far close to the bar as possible. It sounds like a good monthly donation cushion would really help THF quite a bit. Yeah. So if anybody watching is interested in providing a monthly donation, they can go to tommysholidayfund.org and sign up for either a one-time donation or a monthly. Any amount works, right?
Yeah.
Anything helps.
Anything is helpful. Yeah, even if it's $1, it's helpful. Yeah, I mean, it's, but again, the people that come out when they see that we need help, so we've got some people that don't do monthly, but when they see that we've posted, as soon as we post and say we need help, it's the same people every time. They're just here. So some people reserve and say, I give monthly to certain things, but whenever I see that Tommy's needs help, here. So it really warms my heart to see that, we get so much support from the community, and especially the vegan community and the people that we've met over the years that really come out to support us in what we do. And it's really nice. And, yeah.
Well, Wes, thank you so much for everything you do for companion animals in our community. It's a lot to take on, and I know you do it with love in your heart, and you've been doing it for years, and I know you're going to continue to do it. So I hope you get even more support as the years go on, because I know that you guys will probably take it right out of your pocket if you don't. So thank you so much for joining us today. I'm glad to be able to let people know what THF does. And is there anything else you'd like to tell us? Anything coming up? I know we're still in the middle of a global pandemic right now in May 2020, but anything lined up besides helping Duke, of course? I know that's your current.
We've got Duke. We helped another one just before Duke that I'm waiting to post about that, which again was because of our amazing donors named Bebop. But we'll post about him soon. As soon as we get through with Duke. We're almost to the end with Duke now. We can actually get the MRI, I think, soon. And no, I mean, again, like you hit on, we are truly grassroots. Everything is done from the ground up. So we work with we will work with any clinic. If you've got a clinic that does offer discounts for nonprofits that you know of, or if you work with one, then please refer them to us or let me know. My email is wes@tommysholidayfund.org. Send me an email, let me know. I'm more than happy to reach out to them, because we're always looking for new clinics that we can work with that will give us discounts to try to help us out there. So we are, we are 100% a vegan organization, and it's actually written into our bylaws that to be in our group or to be part of our organization, you have to be vegan to be on the board. So it is part of our I guess what tethers us together is in the backbone. So we would never have an event. When we can have an event, we won't have an event where, it's save the whales, but here, eat this fish. So that'll never happen with us.
It's a very frustrating thing to go to be an animal lover and to go to an event and then have it be a barbecue. Like, okay. So it's not pigs you like, it's dogs. So that's something I've always appreciated about THF as well, is the vegan ethic is your base.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing that. And I know it helps you keep your mind on what matters as far as helping these animals and getting them to a safe place. Well, thank you so much, Wes. I hope you and Julie are doing well during this time, and I hope I'll actually be able to hug you guys in person soon.
Yeah. You and Ken and Lee.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.